Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to do a comparison video from first draft to final book. I hope the fan isn't creating too much ambient sound. I do have it on, it's pretty warm upstairs. But I found the first draft of Wisteria with all the first initial changes and editing that was done to it. This first draft was the very first draft that I printed out of the computer, and then everything after that point was looking like this. All kinds of changes. One thing I'm going to say before I start this video is that if you have not read the book, I probably wouldn't watch this video. This is going to talk about things that are later on in the book. Right now I have this on page, in the book this is on page 56, and final book 56, and first draft page 32. So just spoiler alert kind of thing. If you haven't read the book, I probably wouldn't watch this. Like I said, it's just, I'm just going to talk about things that surprises and things that you might want to find out for yourself, and you might want to experience when you read it for the very first time. So definitely don't watch this video if you plan on reading the book. It's okay, don't watch this video, watch it after you've read the book. Okay, so I think I got a pretty cool comparison here, because it's just drastically different, and just goes to show like just how much things change. So I'm not gonna like read the whole chapter or anything. So, all right. So there's this part where whoever's read the book, you guys know that when Claire comes up to when it's her time to insert the letters into the letter wall, there is a tree that falls and breaks the ice, and it sends one of her best friends into the river. And her mom, Claire's mom, have to save her. And so you guys know the part that I'm talking about. So let me just read the first draft of that, and then I'll read the final version. So in the first draft it says, as Claire makes her way across the ice, she looks around and notices that the amount of families have started to diminish as they've come and gone already. And then that's my first draft, and there's like a bunch of notes around it, but I'm just gonna read what I initially had. So I'll read that one more time. As Claire makes her way across the ice, she looks around and notices that the amount of families have started to diminish as they've come and gone already. As Claire looks forward toward the L wall, she notices Sophia to her left a few hundred feet, who's down a little ways and who is being as cautious as she can on the ice, has already begun to insert her letters into the wall. She hears a very loud snapping sound from behind her, and as she turns around, she can see a tree falling in the same direction as Sophia. Sophia, run, Claire yells. Sophia turns around, looks up, and begins running away in the opposite direction of where Claire is, and away from the falling tree. As the tree falls against the ice, the impact of it cracks and breaks completely through the ice. The cracks throughout the ice spread like a spider's web. Into the freezing cold water goes Sophia as the ice beneath her feet are broken into what seems like 100/1,000 pieces. Claire is on stable ice, but begins to run to where Sophia fell in at. Claire, stop, Judith yells. Claire stops and looks at her mother. This way, Judith yells as she points to an area back by the side of the river to the right of where she was sitting. Judith quickly puts John down onto a log and begins running with Claire over to where Sophia fell in at. Claire, behind me, stay behind me, Judith says, as Claire as they approach to broken up ice. You could definitely tell this is the very first draft. Some of this is just literally put down on paper. As Judith approaches the area where Sophia fell in at, Claire can hear a sort of pounding a bit further down. Mom, I think she's down here, Claire says. They carefully walk to where the pounding is coming from, about 20 feet over from the hole. They can hear the ice cracking beneath their feet with every single step they take. There she is, Claire yells out. Careful, Judith says to Claire as Claire begins to walk faster towards where Sarah is. See right there, the difference. The final name in the book is Sarah, not Sophia, but I changed it right there, and yeah. Anyway, get down all fours, Judith says to Claire. They begin crawling the rest of the way to Sophia. See, I go from Sophia to Sarah to Sophia, man. Judith pulls off her hatchet and begins to hit the solid ice with the butt end of the hatchet over and over and over again until she's able to completely crack through the ice. Claire reaches in and grabs Sarah's forearm. Oh my God. Mom, it's so cold, Claire says to her mother. Sophia is hung up on some debris underneath the ice, so she's just sort of stuck where she is. Judith begins backing up a bit, cracking more and more ice until there's a hold, that was a misspell, a hold big enough for a human being to fit through. Keep holding her, Judith says to Claire. Judith begins sliding herself around the hole where some of the cracks have stopped. She wants to balance out the weight, oil the ice, because she knows if she's where Claire is at, they'll most likely fall into. Start pulling her with everything you have, Claire, Judith says. Judith reaches into the water and grabs the jacket Sophia is wearing to help lift her up and out. It's incredibly difficult to lift dead weight, especially out of water. They've gotten her about halfway out of the water where Sophia has begun to help herself out as well now. Come on, we've got to get her out of here now, Judith says to Claire as they slide here across the ice and back to the side of the river. They get her onto a log. Start stripping her clothes off, Claire. She needs all of these wet clothes off now, Judith says as she quickly removes clothes off of her own body. There are some other people who run over and offer to give some of their clothes to help her as well. One child offers his gloves while another offers her scarf. Judith puts her coat around Claire and puts the extra pair of pants she had on Sarah. Claire takes the scarf and puts it on Sarah as well as the gloves. While Claire is helping Sophia warm up, Judith takes off her extra pair of socks and her only hat and puts it on Sarah. Claire, rub her feet, warm her feet up. Judith tells Claire, we've got to get her home, Judith says. Thank you, Judith says to the children who came over to give up some of their clothing to Sarah. Let's get her home, Judith says to Claire. Sophia, you're going to need to help us help you, okay? Judith says. Try to walk the best you can. I know you're cold and you're hurting, but you are going to be okay, Judith says to Sarah as she puts her arm around Sarah to help lift her up off of the log. Claire, you get her other side, okay? Judith says. John, come over here, Judith says to John Jr. You're going to need to walk a little more than usual, okay? Judith says to John. John understands, or does she put John into some sort of harness on her backpack, ? End of the chapter. So, and then it leads into chapter 7. So I just read, 3 pages? 3 pages of so about 4.5 notes. 4.5 pages worth of first draft notes. As you can tell, that was incredibly jumbled. The name switch kept happening between Sarah and Sophia. That was even in chapter 7 I have Sophia, but then I crossed it out and I put Sarah. Sorry if you guys hear that, it's really loud fireworks going on outside. So yeah, that was really jumbled. That was actually very difficult for me to read. But that's why it's a first draft. It's not supposed to make the most sense. You're supposed to build off of that. That's basically just your thoughts getting down on paper. So I'd actually be pretty surprised if it was really readable for a first draft, and that was just, it's readable, but man, it's horrible. Okay, so let's go ahead and read that same part in the final book. It is much more cleaned up and better to read. So I'm gonna go ahead and start exactly from where we were at. After making her way across the ice, Claire puts Mrs. Myers and Miss Allison's letters into the wall, making sure they're right by each other. That's strange, it's quiet. Claire looks around, listening to the snow fall around her, and notices that almost all the families have already come and gone. Sarah is halfway back across the river, headed for where Judith and John are waiting beneath the trees. I guess it's just us now. Suddenly there is a loud snapping sound. Claire rolls around, looking to see where the noise has come from. Sarah, run, Judith yells. Claire watches in horror as Sarah looks up and then begins running. She makes it only a few steps before an enormous tree cracks in half and slams against the ice, breaking it into what seems like 100,000 pieces and shoving her into the river running underneath. Claire screams and begins to run towards where her friend has disappeared. Claire, stop. This way, Judith yells, pointing to the riverbank. John is bawling now. Claire skirts the jagged branches of the tree and runs up beside her mother, panting. Behind me, stay behind me, Judith tells her, leading the way. She holds John to her, soothing him. Mom, I think she's over here, Claire says, frantic. She can hear faint pounding from underneath the ice. She moves closer and sees a dark shape moving under the surface. There she is, Claire yells, pointing. Judith sets John on the riverbank and tells him to stand still. She moves carefully out onto the ice to where her daughter is now standing, watching as the ice continues to crack. Get down on all fours, Judith tells her. As they crawl towards Sarah, Judith unbuckles her hatchet with one hand. They reach the spot Claire has indicated, and she begins to hit the ice as hard as she can until she's able to crack completely through it. Oh my God, Mom, it's so cold, Claire cries, plunging her arm in and grabbing Sarah's arm. Judith slides backwards, breaking off more of the ice as she moves, until there's a hole big enough for them to drag Sarah through. The girl's body is heavy and unresisting. Her eyes are closing now, and her skin is a dull blue. Claire tightens her grip on Sarah's arm and pulls as hard as she can. Keep holding her. I know it's difficult, Judith says, panting, sliding herself around the hole and hacking at the ice. She moves farther away from Claire, trying to balance out the weight. If they're all clustered together, they'll most likely fall through again when they pull Sarah up. You keep pulling that arm, and I'm going to pull from over here, Judith says. She lies flat on her belly and reaches down in the water, grabbing Sarah's other arm with one hand and the collar of her jacket with the other. With everything we've got, Claire. 1, 2, 3, pull, Judith yells. Half screaming, half weeping, they drag Sarah up and out of the river. Come on, we've got to get her out of here. Panting, Judith slides Sarah across the ice, away from the hole. Let's get her over to the trees. Once they are out of immediate danger, Judith pulls off her own coat and starts working herself out of her snow pants. Start stripping her clothes off, Claire. She needs all of this wet stuff off right now, Judith tells her daughter. Claire obeys, her fingers fumbling at the half-frozen buttons and zippers. Judith wraps her coat around Sarah, then pulls her snow pants up the girl's legs. Claire takes off her scarf and her gloves and quickly puts them on Sarah as well. Here, put this on her too, Judith says, handing Claire her hat. Okay, let's rub her feet and warm them up, Judith says. She kicks off her boots, then bends and pulls off her extra pair of socks. Here, put these on her too, Judith says, handing Claire the socks. She thinks for a moment and then hands Claire her boots as well. Mom. Claire, it's okay. I can handle cold feet. She can't. She needs to use mine. She goes over to where John is standing by their belongings and picks up her pack. John is whimpering, but stays where he is, watching everything closely. We've got to get her home, Judith says, putting her pack on. Claire is kneeling beside Sarah, and Sarah can see that the girl's eyes are open now. Her teeth are chattering. This is good, she knows. Shivering is good. She crouches on the other side of the girl. Sarah, you're going to need to help us help you, okay? Judith says. The girl nods sleepily, and together Judith and Claire help her to get to her feet. Try to walk the best you can. I know you're cold and you're hurting, but you're going to be okay, Judith tells her. She pulls one of Sarah's arms over her shoulder, supporting her. Claire, get her other side. She turns to John, who is watching them. Come over here. Stay close to me. Let's go, she says. And then that's the end of that chapter, and that's chapter 8, so then that heads into chapter 9. So you can already see that there's already an entire chapter difference between the first draft and the final book, but you can see that there's a lot of difference in the first draft of this chapter 6. When she falls through the ice, that's just explained way differently. And then in the original version, there's like people that are still out there that come over and help. And in the final version, it was I focused like heavily on just them and made it like more intimate, and there was nobody else around. So you could see that there's just some major differences there. I'm not the best reader, so I hope you guys could bear with me through that. So yeah, I hope that you guys like that little comparison video. I think I'm gonna do these like every so often. I hope to get better at them. I think it'd be cool to also maybe like run some text across the screen and, you know, show you guys that way too. So maybe as I read, you guys can actually see like the first draft on the screen or something like that. I'll play around with it, but I just thought that was a cool video idea, and I thought that maybe you guys would be interested in that, seeing the first draft versus the final book. So, and then just like some other key stuff, like I said, don't watch this if you haven't read the book. So for those of you that have read the book, you guys know what the letter wall is. And in the first draft on page 2, you can see I call it the letter wall, but I also call it the L wall for short. Just a little like how things have like changed, you know. Also, you can also see like that in the final version, everything was Sarah. It wasn't Sophia, it wasn't Sophie, nothing like that. It was all just Sarah. Sophie, Sarah, or Sophia, Sophie, the name just didn't sound right. It didn't blend when I kept reading it. Sarah just flowed a lot better, so I just used Sarah. So yeah, there is a ton of notes and comparisons that I could do. But yeah, you guys can, this is what it looks, I'll show you guys exactly what this looks like right here, like on paper. Let's see. Final book version down there. It's kind of where it starts, and yeah, first draft with like just tons of notes, basically almost like an entire rewrite. And then yeah, this is like, you know, what it looks like. Next pages, and then still some of that, and then this, basically almost an entire rewrite again, and then so it's like this, and then a little bit more, and then this is the end of this. See, just tons of rewrites, tons of changes, and then right here, and then that's where I ended, was right here. But you can see like right here into the next chapter is just literally just tons of taking out stuff and adding stuff, and this is the next page after that. And then the next page after that. See how much changes go into this? And then the next page after that. And then the next page after that. And again, I'll do one more. See those changes? So it's wild how much things change from first draft. So yeah, just thought that was a cool idea that I could share with you guys. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I wanted to keep this video a little bit shorter, but I read a longer part of the chapter than I was going to. So yeah, I think I'm going to do an in-hand look video at the tabletop mini. I'm going to do that this week. And then I'm also going to be working on a kind of like how I was doing like the Wisteria trailers. But I want to do one with like quotes that people have said about Wisteria, like about the book. So like awesome or so good or it was amazing, that type of thing. Like I want to make like almost like a little bit of a teaser with like the quotes kind of like coming to or from like the screen and have it like through the woods type of deal. So I'm gonna work on that this week, and then I'm gonna do the tabletop mini in-hand look, and I'm still working on a topic video for this week. But yeah, I hope that you guys like this video. It's getting late. My voice is all jacked up, and I'm really tired, so I'm probably going to be heading to bed pretty soon. But I hope that you guys had an amazing weekend. Tomorrow is Monday. I'm going to try to upload this tonight on Sunday. If not, it will definitely get uploaded tomorrow morning. I'm just going to schedule it. That's what I've been doing with my YouTube videos sometimes, is like I'll like when I go to sleep I'll like do it, because the converting, I could see the videos like at 21 almost 22 minutes. The converting will take like hours to do. So like if I upload this to YouTube right now, like even if I stop this video right now, it's like what's probably like what 9:30 maybe. It might not even upload till like technically like midnight or something like that anyway. So this will most likely get, like I said, uploaded and published tomorrow. I'll probably just do like a scheduled like 5 or 6 a.m. release, and just have it released then. That way all the converting's done and everything. But yeah, thank you guys for bearing with me. I'm not the best reader, and my voice is a little raspy right now, so but yeah, hope you guys liked that video. I'm gonna head to bed soon. I hope that you guys had an amazing weekend, and I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.